Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tide. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
He didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.
Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. I'm Pawel the Cat with my wonderful co-hosts.
Hey, guys, how you doing? It's Evan REV Reynolds coming back at you with another show here. My glorious host. We're going to give him the praises, man. He said Dallas was going to the Stanley Cup. Not joking.
I did.
Yeah.
I am happy to be wrong in this instance, but I did. I did say that.
I'm wondering if you did the reverse curse. You know what? We have a guest coming on at 7:30. If you guys haven't heard, our guest is Mr. Bang. I call him Mr. Bang. He is the Dallas Stars fan who bangs on the glass at the back of the Dallas arena behind the net. And he's got a big sign that says bang. And him and Biz Nasty have got into a lot of nasty comments back. But, well, actually, I'll say Biz has. And I think Nick has just kind of played along. He's become the villain of the NHL. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to bring Nick on for 15 minutes probably or so at 7:30. So make sure that you guys jump on in that time. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we have a lot to get through. So let's get started. Evan. The Stanley Cup final is set. Welcome, Ray. How's it going? It's all right that you couldn't make it. Maybe next week we'll see. We have a few guests lined up coming up. And Lost Trucker is in Boise. Evan,
Boise, Idaho.
Is set. Your
the
thoughts
Idaho
on these two
Steelheads,
teams?
man.
What?
The Idaho Steelheads. I was just thinking. She's been through there, and she, in fact, bought a jersey from there for me. Okay, so guys. Well, my buddy's sitting there getting all his texts, and he's making his connections right now. Why don't we jump into some talk? Why don't we start off before we get into our stuff around the Stanley Cup, because we're going to tap in on a little bit before. We'll touch in maybe about 20 after. Let's hit on some of that stuff. Let's jump right now to some stuff around the league. You know, there's always a bunch of rumors going around. We always like to tap in on that. So if you're coming on late, I know there's a whole bunch of you on live right now, so definitely throw some ideas, if some things you want to discuss. We'll talk about them. Again, if it's Edmonton specific, we're probably going to be about 20 minutes away or maybe 15 minutes, and we can get started on some of the actual Stanley Cup. Let's talk about some teams. So we know that New Jersey is in for a goalie. I know they picked up some players last year. Ray, you're in Jersey. You know what I'm talking about. There's been lots of talk about the potential types of goalies that could be coming back. One is a big rumor going out around they are willing to trade their 10th overall. And so if they're willing to trade that, is Markstrom up? But we know they're not trading for Markstrom straight up. There's no way they're giving up a 10th overall for that. So what will Jersey do? Run your speculations, as well as we know that Allmark could possibly be available. So if they have a chance to get Allmark, will they go for that? I say they're going big game fishing. They got a new GM, a new coach in place. Their GM is ready to, they're loaded and locked. I just think that they just need to work on a goalie. And the rest and the experience, I think, this year, and a healthy Hughes all year. That's going to make a difference.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Ray says the goalie market is heating up, 100%. I think what it is that New Jersey wants to get back into it. Jake Allen was a good pickup at the trade deadline, but I think they want something more and more consistent. And I think one of the comments made at the end of the year season for Tom Fitzgerald was the fact that, they want to stabilize the net. And I'm paraphrasing. So I think they really are looking at getting a goaltender. And there's going to be a few that are going to be of interest to New Jersey, including Markstrom and Ullmark. So definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll be here to report it. We are on our page, Two Guys in Hockey Talk. You can check it out. Now, Ray says, to me, either Ullmark or Markstrom at this point. I think the cost of Stars is going to be too high, and you'll have to consider the cap because they have 18 in cap space with a few deals that need to get done. 100%. The thing with Ullmark and Markstrom, they both have to move their no movement clauses and no trade clauses, right? That's the big one right now. They should, and I think Markstrom was ready to do that for New Jersey, but the deal fell through. But I think there's a possibility that this will happen. There's going to be a lot of movement, Evan. The one thing I have heard is that Saros may be resigned, so we'll have to see what happens. But I know he could potentially move, depending on what Barry Trotz and the Nashville organizations do. So there's definitely going to be some movement, not only of goalies, but definitely of other players, because names like Martin Necas has been out there, and a lot of Vancouver fans have been really looking at him, and I think they're interested. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, that was one of the ones I was going to say. So Necas, that I think the price is going to be really high. So we know right now they obviously can't talk to him, but there's talking. We know there's no talking because of tampering, but there's talking. People talk behind the scenes. They do it every year. It's been a tradition from time back. However, the issue is how much is he wanting? And the talk is a lot of money. And so that's going to be the sticking point unless he sees the opportunity. But he could re-sign where he is and have just as good opportunity as the Vancouver Canucks. And the Canucks are going to have a lot of cap issues in moving forward here that they're going to – and one of the things that I wonder – now, I haven't heard anything, but what I wonder for the Canucks right now is they have to sit and figure if they piece this in, say Necas, they give them an offer and they take a high end, and then they have to look at someone else, say – I know some guy – a lot of Canucks fans don't want to sign Tyler Myers. But let's just say you can sign him to a better deal so that he can continue and have a finish off his career there for the next, say, 3 or 4 year term or something. Maybe is that possible? But what do they do with Pettersson too? Right? You got a huge asset. Do you trade it out? Do you try to take some other pieces? What do you do?
We just signed him. I think Lindholm is the big one there in Vancouver. What you do?
But Pettersson doesn't have a full long-term contract though.
What are you talking about? He signed an 8-year deal. Elias Pettersson. What are you going on about? You know nothing. He just signed a big one. $11.5 million.
What happened to my notes? I'm off the rails. Okay, guys.
You're just going to confuse him. He signed. That was the whole big thing. He signed 1 month after Nylander signed, and he signed for 11.5 for 8 years. It's Lindholm now who potentially is coming out.
Yeah.
Zadorov.
Yeah, and that's what my mind was.
And for Myers, they have a number. They're just waiting to see how the other pieces fall and what else they're looking for. Because on the back end, they're set. I think Casey DeSmith is gone, another potential backup looking for work somewhere in the NHL and will get the job. You've got Thatcher Demko, and you've got, Seelogs
is going to have that, yeah.
So now you're looking at Myers. Do you re-sign him, and for what? And I think they do at a low number. The number has been talked about between 3 and 3.5 million. However, Zadorov is definitely going to have a lot of suitors, including Toronto, including Carolina, and I think he's going to get a big payday. And you're looking between 5 and 6 years for 5 and 6+ million. So keep an eye out for that. Which, whether you agree or not,
6 to 7, I hear you once.
Again, I think the longer the term, the shorter the number. But again, that's kind of what I've been hearing from the rumblings. But Elias Pettersson is here to stay. I don't know why you're scaring Vancouver Canuck fans because
it's called my. So I got my. Go ahead. What's Ray say?
I said you're making fans panic with your silly calls.
So in front of me here, I had Lindholm in front of me, and I'm looking at the Elias. So and that was one of the things I've had some discussions with about 4 or 5 people this week and talking and. Just going again, it's pure speculation, but everything you can read a lot into social media. And I know Evander Kane said, "Hey, goodbye," and then he says, "Hey, hello." That does happen, so we can't read too much into it. But there's been a lot of talk, and from the rumblings around Boston, and if our buddy Kyle's around, Boston, there is an interest between both Boston and the Lindholms to make something happen in Boston. And remember though, what's his contract going to be? Both teams would be competitive, Vancouver or Boston, wherever he goes. So that was what I was thinking about. And I do apologize to all the Canucks fans.
That what's it called? He had a good playoff run, even though he started slow in after the trade from Calgary. So I think he's going to get signed for a big number, and I think Boston.
He won't get the number though.
What?
He won't get the number he had in Calgary. He had 8.5 on the table.
I disagree. I think he'll go somewhere. Oh. And another name to keep out for centers. What? Well, you just didn't even know Pettersson was signed, and now you're saying you think I'm
okay. You're the guy that's going around saying that Draisaitl's going to sign for $12.5 million.
I think so.
Come on, buddy. Okay, so we're going to see, because usually the contracts come closer to what I say, less than what you say. But hey, that's okay. I think we need to start keeping have a tracker, have a predictive tracker for Rev the Cat. Okay, hey, let me make mention. Okay,
you know what? I go ahead.
Yeah, just let me make mention here quickly around the Canucks before we forget. So Yogi has moved up as an assistant coach. Now I'm going to slaughter his name. I believe it's Spezkowski. I think that's how you say his last name. He's one of the new assistant coaches. They wanted to bring him up from within. And the Sedins did a wonderful job. Tocchet loved working with them last year. And they're going to do some help around coaching, both with the Abbotsford team and also with Vancouver again next year. So obviously, a lot of us thought that they might move into the management side more, but obviously it's stayed more around the development and coaching. I think that, probably the progression was maybe to get to coaching and or learn everything about the game and then move into development and maybe even into assistant roles or something.
100%.
And then,
Mike Yeo was hired up for as an assistant coach out in Ottawa, while Mr. Lane Lambert has now been named assistant coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Craig Berube and Travis Green are both building up their Ontario benches. So we're seeing a lot of that.
Since you hit it on Toronto, let me just quickly make mention Toronto Marner. It's looking like, under the impression that I get, that he's not going to waive his clause at all.
What did I say, Evan? What did I say?
No,
what did I call? Oh, the sweet, sweet joy of being right.
Usually when someone has to brag a lot, they're usually trying to compensate. But I'll digress.
I'm compensating for the fact that you know nothing about hockey, and I knew what was going on. Just like I know exactly what
you didn't know what was going on. You were taking an educated guess.
I said he's staying. I said more
you
like
said he's staying, but you had no inside information on staying. You just were guessing.
Evan, I have my sources. Don't you fret.
Whatever. You were taking a wild guess, but okay.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Okay.
So now also the Jets. Let's move over to Winnipeg.
Nick Ehlers.
Yeah. So, well, you can talk about him in a minute. I want to talk about the very good possibility that they're going to do everything they can. There's a mutual interest between them and Sean Monahan. So that'll be good news for Jets fans. Monahan knows the team. He likes the team. He likes the Canadian market. That's also not, and he can fit very well into that system. They had a bad playoff. Everything got dropped. It had a lot to do with they got out coached, I believe, and they also got out defensed. Their forwards they were spending too much time on their own end. They were always on their heels while the Avalanche were on their toes constantly throughout that series. So no idea what this number will come in. He's obviously going to get a pay raise, but my guess is going to be around the $5 million mark that they're going to probably, if they can sign him. So this will be interesting.
Now they did bring in Scott Arniel as the head coach after Rick Bowness took some time off and he's retired essentially. It'll be interesting to see how he navigates that room, given everything. And I think Nick Ehlers is probably gone, most likely going somewhere to the east for someone who needs a good depth scoring winger. I've always liked Ehlers. I think he's very underrated for what he does. And he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He could do a lot of everything. So I look forward to seeing him in whatever jersey he dons next season.
Okay.
There's definitely interest there. Go ahead.
All right. I'm ready for my rant here before we get into some Stanley Cup talk.
All right. Tonight's rant is brought to you by JR Web Design. Go check out our web design through JRW. If you need a website done, we have ours done through them. They do amazing work. JR Web Design, rant of the night.
You know, one of the things that just irks me, and I've been dealing with it for a while, it does really irk me. So if you do say sometimes I just play around, yeah, I troll a little bit like some of you on social media, play with it. I sometimes play the villain, even though I actually don't even agree with my own opinion when I'm giving it sometimes, just to have fun with people. But one thing is seeing a lot of people, they follow analytics and they think that they're coaches. They think they know what they're talking about. And when I say think, you can tell because their hockey understanding of the game, you don't have to play at the NHL level, but you got to learn the game. That's the key. And a lot of you, listen, playing beer league or rec league, you don't do a lot of coaching drills. You don't figure stuff out. When you come in and you think that you have this knowledge around hockey, I want to ask you a question. Do you know what a curl up is? Do you know what a hockey stop is? Do you have a clue what the a center circle drill is? Do you have a clue what a Russian one-on-one is? Do you have any? I can name you 200 different coaching drills and strategies right now and just walk through a whole list of them. What about a flow drill? Do you know what a flow drill is? No, you don't have a clue. So you really need to quit acting like you know lots about hockey because you watched it. Just because you watched it doesn't mean you know anything. Just because you watch it doesn't mean that you actually can even GM a team. Hey, if you want to GM a team, be honest and say, hey, this is what I would do. But don't sit and criticize someone's character because you think you have a lot more knowledge around hockey. Anyway, you know what? Mic drop. I'm done with my rant, man.
Great. Well, Ray says Russian one-on-ones give me nightmares. And Lost Trucker says, what Yeti doing? I'm guessing she's talking about Utah. There's been some name things. Now, I don't know if you're referring to my insight of hockey because there's a lot of knowledge out there. But it's not just hockey. There's hockey business too, right? And you have to know the hockey business side of it, right? We've had people talk about the hockey business side. So there's definitely a lot of levels of understanding of the game, Evan. I just want to make sure everyone feels included and welcome, and that if you have questions, you can come to me because Evan will not want to answer your questions. He will just rant it up.
Yeah, no, actually, that has everything to do. I think this season I got worked up with the playoffs at listening to people go on and just slash character of players and coaches and everything like they actually know what they're talking about.
That's
and this is a social media thing.
/X. I don't condone that. Hey, Kyle, hope you're doing well. I'm sorry about your Bruins, but the Celtics are in unless you're following them in the NBA. That starts up soon too. Now,
we covered some Bruin stuff earlier there, Kyle. So if you do go back, you can check out. We're talking about all market a little bit again.
Evan, we got the Stanley Cup set. I wanted to talk about it. But before we get into the series, there seems to be this superstition in hockey about not touching a trophy. Your thoughts on why neither of these teams touch the trophy when, in fact, they wear the hat and celebrate, saying they are champions of both East and Western conferences? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Well, interesting enough, isn't it? One of the things that I actually have found really interesting is when I did a deep dive into this, what I realized, and I started thinking with my head, I was like, okay, hang on. Edmonton followed suit. They didn't touch. Florida touched last year. They lost. They said, no, we're not touching this year. They made a big deal and they laughed about it.
Well, Maurice even told Barkov, don't you dare touch it.
Don't you dare. Like he went out there. That was the thing. You know, there wasn't really discussion around Edmonton, but they all knew. So here's the thing. Someone's wrong. Someone started a new tradition. They're not touching the cup and they're going to lose. So it doesn't work. In fact, I went and I did some statistical data on this. And when I came back, I realized that actually touching the cup can you win. In fact, Pittsburgh has won 3 cups touching the cup. the Wales Conference or the Eastern Conference Championship. So you got to get away from this stuff. This is kind of silly. It's the only sport where they don't enjoy a trophy and that they well deserve to get there. So I think it's kind of a silly piece.
Now, people are tuning in and saying, Travis, I wonder if this series will go 7 and know the score with Decker and Dix, or saying Edmonton in 6. Your thoughts, quick thoughts on the series and what you're expecting to happen, and kind of an advantage for each team.
Okay. Yeah. So why don't I cover some of it and then you can jump in here. We're just waiting on our guest headliner here tonight. We call him Mr. Bang. He's the famous glass banger down in Dallas. So he will be coming on in a little bit. We're hoping to have him on about 7:30 in about 10 minutes. So hopefully he has no problems jumping on the platform here tonight. So coming around this, one of the interesting things that I've kind of found. So, hey, I believe we can put up a note. There was a note that was put up by a guy named Greg Cote about Connor McDavid. Now, Connor McDavid, this guy goes on to say some comments which has really raised the roof. Go ahead and read it for everybody.
Connor McDavid is overrated. Boom. He puts up big, impressive stats. Yes. Fine. But should he really be called generational, called the best player in the sport, when in 9 seasons he has yet to lead his cup to a Stanley Cup? He has the requisite nickname, McJesus, the chosen one. But he has not proved beyond stats, transcendent, able to lift the franchise to the ultimate heights. Overrated by Brad Cott of the Miami Herald.
Can you imagine?
This guy, he's going into it hard.
Okay, you know what? Saying he's overrated, that's fine, right? I mean, that's opinion. But to say he's not a generational player, what does Greg do? He sits behind a mic and he talks. That's all he does. And I believe he must be trolling, man. He must be trolling to really raise the roof here. I cannot see anyone fathom in their mind that he's not a generational player. He's already at this stage of his career, 9 seasons in, he's already ranked right behind Gretzky and Lemieux for most statistical records. Yeah. He's got more awards already than even Lemieux. I know his competition isn't Gretzky, which makes a difference. But, come on, buddy. What's wrong with you? What kind of response is that?
I think the other challenge that people don't understand is that equipment, the game has gotten faster. Training has gotten better. People are better conditioned. You know, Gretzky and Lemieux were elite in their days, but you used to have guys standing in net rather than get down with the big pads that you see now. You know, and Travis mentioned Ovechkin went how long without a cup? I think it was 13 years, right? McKinnon too, 9-10 years before he got a whiff of the cup, kept getting out of the second round, could not get over the hump, you know. And Kyle asks who the Cup's final MVP is. I mean, there are bets about who it would be. Right now, for me, McDavid and Draisaitl are at the top, Bouchard as well. And I would say probably Barkov and Bobrovsky on the other side for the Florida Panthers. Kyle also says McDavid getting treated like a guy Tatum needs to win it all to prove their greatness. Jason Tatum, elite baller out in Boston. I agree. Sometimes individual stats matter. And it unlike basketball and some other sports, hockey is a very team-oriented sport, and you can't win one without the other. You saw how easily, and we talked about the Devils, Evan, how easily the Devils, you can have all the talent with Jack Hughes, Dawson Mercer, elite players on your team, Luke Hughes on the back end. And if you don't have a goalie, Evan, you falter. You can't even make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So how do you expect to win? It's a team dynamic sport, right? That's how you win. So definitely interesting to see. But what are your thoughts on the Cup final MVPs?
So I agree. I don't think Bouchard has a chance, even though he's about to hit record-breaking territory, just because of the sheer numbers of being behind both Draisaitl and McDavid. And by the way, Draisaitl's happy being behind McDavid, but he's in some of his stats, he's 1 point behind or something like that. He could easily overtake. He was ahead when McDavid hadn't scored for a couple of games against Vancouver. So easily, right now it's McDavid. Second, it could be Draisaitl. Depends what happens in this series. Now, unless Bouchard goes supernova with goals, coming in or something like that. But I would say on the other side, I actually see them putting Tkachuk now ahead of Barkov. but I think it'll be Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky will be. So right now I'm going to say McDavid and Bobrovsky are going to be, unless somebody else goes supernova like Tkachuk and Barkov and or Draisaitl in the meantime.
Travis says, as a Flames fan, I'll never cheer for either team, but let the best team win. Ray's talking about the next topic. Well, Ray, you're in for a treat because we've got a bunch of following players that could sign extensions as soon as July 1st of this year.
1 year.
We can take a look at this list of players. Go ahead, Evan.
No, you. So I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to get you to read.
Oh, you got Leon Draisaitl coming up, Mikko Rantanen out in Colorado, Sidney Crosby, who I think there's a deal to be made there around 9 to 10.5 million for 4 to 5 years, 4 to 6 years, you know. Mitch Marner, who, again, we talked a little bit earlier, Victor Hedman out in Tampa, who most likely will stay there and could get a boost. Gustav Nyquist out in Nashville, Brock Besser, who had a phenomenal, not only postseason, but season. And to see him healthy and have a healthy wrist and healthy shoulder, has been able to put up a lot of points. Carter Verhaeghe, who, again, has been very impactful for the Florida Panthers, Brock Nelson and New York Islanders, Travis Konechny, who's also looking for a big number, Brad Marchand, the captain of that team, John Tavares, Claude Giroux, who's been a really good fit for a couple of dark years out in Ottawa, Pavel Buchnevich, who was a big hot commodity at the trade deadline, and Nick Ehlers, who we talked about. Any of these names that potentially could move, Evan, or that stand out to you, or could potentially rake in the dough beyond Draisaitl?
You know, I wonder about Verhaeghe, eh?
Mm-hmm.
He's not a flashy player, but man, last year to me, if they had won, I would have put him or Bobrovsky right at the top there. As much as the other guys had done a lot because of his all-around game. And I know this sounds weird, but looking at what they're dealing with, I wonder, like, Avs fans are going to be really worried about Rantanen if they don't get him signed right in the beginning of July here, right? If they don't get something kind of taken care of by that time, because they're worried that it's going to go further into the year, right? So will they be able to get something in place? I know Oilers fans are going to be all frustrated with it. I've stated, and I'll state it again, Draisaitl is not going anywhere. The only place, you talk to other people like Frank Saravelli, Elliot Friedman, they're going to tell you, Connor and Dry are best friends. They want to play together. Unless they don't like management, they're mad at the team, there's problems there.
How could they be right now? How could they be?
And even with the changes, right, they're going to be a competitive team in the top 8. They'll get second round. Those two guys alone every year with just some type of supporting cast, probably for the next 6-7 years, just because of those guys. And so I know you and I differ. This is what my prediction. I think he's going to be signing in the $13.5 million on an 8-year contract. And I think that McDavid is probably looking close to the league maximum, which would be around 17. And I think whenever it's done, or 18, and I think you could be looking at 30 million between the two. But you're going to have to pay. You want the two best players in the league. And frankly, I think Dry is. I love Austin Matthews. I don't say he's a much better goal scorer. He's guaranteed to get those goals. But Draisaitl can play incredibly good defensively when he wants to.
He's
and
a
when
playoff elite performer.
He is a playoff guy. He's a bowl man. And that's what makes the difference, too. And that's why he got paid originally, even the contract he did, because he wasn't really worth 7.5 when he first signed. Everyone was doubting it. Should have been more like 6 or 6.5. So good on him. I don't know. Anyone else in there that who do you think has the best chance of moving?
I really think that most likely Brock Nelson, but I mean, again, Islanders need scoring. Really, Gustav Nyquist is the only other one that potentially could move, because you've seen Barry Trotz make big moves and make big changes, and I think he would make an impact. Really, Tavares is going to finish off. Claude Giroux, unless he somehow wants to return to Philly for some reason, he'll stay there. And Buchnevich, I mean, really, you have to build around Jordan Kyrou. So who you're going to have there? And Travis says, had Toronto held on to Hyman, they would have been better. Plus Marner hurts them. And he also thinks that Hyman was a great addition for the Oilers. I agree. There's been some really good pickups for them, and that's probably one of the better signings by Ken Holland on top of Ekholm.
Probably
Now,
one of the best free agent signings, paying dividends in the history of
people
the
thought
NHL.
that contract would end poorly, but it has not. So
I was worried even. Yeah.
So I know we got a lot going on here, but we have a guest coming up. Nick is just about to join us. But before he does, Ray says Florida's got to sign Reinhardt opening Verhaeghe, but wouldn't be surprised to see him make a trade this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, we're about to bring on our guest. He's a loud, banging, very passionate fan, and he's about to bring it all. So,
all right, let's go for our guest headliner of the night, brought to you guys by Penny Billionaires. Listen to their album Invincible. You can catch them anywhere.
Hey guys, what's up? I don't
how
know.
are you doing?
Guest highlight. Oh man, headliner.
You get that honor of being on the show, so we appreciate you, Nick, for being on the show. You have quite the reputation. We're going to get into it all, and I know that there's a lot you want to share with us. But first, I kind of wanted to ask, because we ask every guest that comes on the show, where did your love of the game first emerge? Is there a moment in time that you fell in love with the game of hockey?
Yeah, when my dad said I couldn't play football. So, it was 90. It was literally when the Stars. So we love football. I've gotten a skull fracture a couple of years back. I fell off the top. You know, Indian guides. So I fell off the top bunk and got a skull fracture at like 8 years old. And so I really wanted to play football and I couldn't. And my dad's, saw that the Stars were coming to town. Oh, what about ice hockey? And I was like, my sister and I were all for it because, and then he got the best seats. Literally, we've had the seats since day one. The front row behind the glass where the Stars shoot at. And I mean, everything about the game has changed and I still love it.
Wow. Hey, so Nick, I refer to you as Mr. Bang. That's the name that I got to keep with you. So if folks aren't familiar, Nick doesn't need to describe himself. We see him on your national television if you're in the U.S. We see him on national television in Canada. And just in the recent series, all throughout in the conference finals, Dallas versus Edmonton, you'll see him bashing on that glass in behind with a big sign that says Bang. But you became better known because Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette from Spittin' Chicklets, decided he didn't like you. And you had to say some comments that got going back and forth, which still doesn't seem to end, dude. There's been like this love affair going on. What's happened with that?
Okay, first off, I just want to say that everything that Biz and I have done and said to each other all over Twitter is not pre-planned. Like we don't, I haven't talked to him in the DMs ever. Like he asked me one time to be on the sideshow, some sideshow, I forgot what they have. And then I was like, yeah, sure. And that was the only thing he asked me to do. And I did that. But any time that we speak or something happens, it's all public. Every bit of it. Nobody knows. Like the Stars found out about what the situation in the first game, the first round of the first period of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Biz and I were at each other's throats. And found out about it as it was unfolding. And luckily the situation got settled where it was ESPN that misinterpreted and misspoke to the American Airlines Center about the sign situation and said that I couldn't bring the sign up during the play. And that's the reason why that's the reason why I have the sign is for that specific purpose. So I don't beat the shit out of the glass.
Yeah.
And Biz just took it. He took it and ran with it. And I mean, fuck Biz.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So American Airlines, so the arena came and they tell you can't bash on the glass, but other people can during the play, or is it a rule for the arena now?
No, it's me.
What the?
I was literally double fisting and beating, like whenever the play would come towards me. Obviously, if it was off to the side, left or right of me, I'm not that big of a fucking idiot. But if it got wherever close, I'm standing up there and I am beating the crap out of glass. Like I've had bruises a couple of seasons, but the double fisting really helped warm that, I'll tell you. And then Fox just told me. Fox kept on trying to nab at me to stop because I rendered the camera above me useless for 5 years, and it's the camera that pans on the offensive end.
Yeah.
For the play, my whatever it is, for the offense. And so Jim Lights told me, listen, you got to stop banging on the glass. We're going to start the process of warnings, blah blah blah, revoking, yada yada yada. And I was like, all right, fine, screw this. I somehow thought of a bang and banging on the glass, and a way to restrain my hands is to hold the sign. And so throughout the years, it's been like I've resized it so many times to make sure that the people behind me and beside me, left or right, in front of me, and behind me are the views not obstructed. So
okay.
Anyway, anybody saying that the sign's a nuisance, I'm a nuisance, it's all clicks and views and all that stuff. And you know what? It's fine by me. I mean, I am I guess now the villain.
You're the villain of the NHL, man.
Of the NHL, and I love it.
You're the villain of NHL social media.
Yes. It's unbelievable. I've never thought in my entire life I'd be the villain of anything in the entire world, and all of a sudden, I am like, Dr. Doom.
Yeah, well, I've said this before. It's just like anytime Biz, the guy didn't have a great career on the ice, but he sure figured out to have a great career to get clicks elsewhere. And it doesn't matter what topic he brings up when he gets something going. I mean, frankly, we disagree, Pawel and I here, but frankly, I think the whole Babcock thing could have been dealt with differently, and he was the problem with that. I think what's happening, there's an ego to it. Frankly, hey Biz, and I know you're not listening, but if you did, you can come on. But man, we're not looking for the clicks. That's I can tell you that.
Yeah. How did this come about, Nick? How did the thought of you wanting to kind of bang the glass and then going from that, of course, with the warnings to the sign and even the look, like I love the white suit, white pants, and the green shirt.
Yeah, tell a story behind that.
So the idea of the sign was almost an instant. Like it was just one of those things that, okay, cool, I can't bang on the glass. I need something to hold, something to distract myself or my hands. And that's where a sign came into play. And this was in 2012. And I played in my last season at Dallas Baptist playing hockey in the ACHA, which is awesome. I got to play the big schools.
Sweet.
I got to play Texas, Oklahoma, all the others. I forgot what shit. Lot of schools that I would never imagine playing. And I had
the concussion hit you.
Oh God, no! I've been playing all my life, so I mean, there are headaches. Growing up, there were just headaches, okay. and I for some reason always got back up, and that's what they always hated. And so Jim Lights, he told me, he goes, Nick, what can we do to help you? I was like, you know what? I'm playing my last game at DVU. Why not let me use this sheet of ice after one of the games, and a day game, whatever. He's like, done. And so I paid. Gave me an hour and a half of ice time. I paid for the other hour and a half, and I got to play my final legitimate game at DV against I think it was Texas State.
Oh, sweet.
And a bunch of other schools wanted to play, but they would have they didn't have the roster. ACHA hockey. Are you familiar?
A little bit, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So I mean, it just depends on the players. Like it could be 5 players that show up, and you got to play the game.
Yeah.
7 players, you got to play the game.
Yeah.
And we were offering anybody and everybody, and all the schools that wanted to join couldn't do it because they had this player that these 4 players that can't play. And so the roster would be just annihilated.
Okay.
It wouldn't be fun. And so since then, I've been very tame. The majority of the time, I've been pretty tame in terms of banging on the glass. And on top of that, I don't drink during games. I just it's one of those.
They
things
all think you do.
Yeah, I know. I'm sober. 99% of the games I'm sober.
Wow. Well, you're saving a lot of money for the cost of booze at some of these games that there is, at least up here in Canada.
No, actually, the VIP lounge. So the VIP lounge is free food and free booze.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So I have my date just drink for me, and you can't go down to the VIP lounge. If for game was it game 1? Did you get the TNT feed?
Yeah, I was getting the TNT feed, so I did
Not
see
me,
it.
no.
Did you see the beginning of game 1?
I'm trying to remember now.
What happened?
It was with what's her Jennifer, or the WWE, the sideline girl, Jennifer, I believe her name is.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She was doing the the pregame. Oh, the team's ready, blah, blah, but she was blocking my way to get down to the VIP, so I can go grab a quick bite to eat, and then come back up. She was blocking my view, and all of a sudden, he leans in. Was that Wayne? Is that last finger? Wayne's looking at. I think it is. And then Liam leaned into her and said, "Hey, who's that next to you?" And I had no idea. I would have prepared something completely different and targeted if I had known I was going to be on live television. So I figured, love is a pretty good word to say, especially with the girl, lady next to you.
Yeah.
Is drop dead gorgeous. It's really sweet too. I felt so bad for her.
That's amazing. Well,
So,
go ahead.
Let me just ask you. There's lots of people, and maybe this will help a lot of hockey fans, specifically hockey Twitter fans or hockey Facebook, wherever they find all this stuff, right? On social media, it's some Instagram and stuff, TikTok, wherever. But what would you say? How have you gone about managing it emotionally? Because I mean, there's a certain point where it's like, okay, whatever, and then it gets long, and it can get really irritating. And then, I think you've done a really good job on your responses and stuff. I mean, in how you've responded and stuff. But what advice would you give to people who get into where people just rip you? I mean, they're nobodies. They're probably 15-year-old kids in their basement, or or adults still pretending that they're GMing a team, or how do you deal with the emotional part of it?
Have you seen some of the replies?
Yeah.
And anything. Like some of the replies are just absolutely horrific things. I actually had a legitimate stalker from Edmonton call me, and it was the guy was a pain in my ass. And a legitimate stalker called me all hours of the night and everything. I feel for that, and it was just
yikes.
It sucks. But the majority of it is social media. I'm sorry, majority is social media. And at the very beginning, you're going to get frustrated, but then you're just going to start to get numb of it. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to be the upper man in this, because you can't, it's not that you can't reply to everybody. I did that the last time, and it was a pain in the ass.
It doesn't stop.
Full-time and a half job, I think, right?
Yeah, and it's literally replying to everybody and saying and coming up with something creative to say to some random person from Jersey or some Winnipeg fan, and then some guy who's speaking French to me in Montreal, and I got to go Google search translate and then Google Translate my answer and send it to them. You just sit there and you take the high road, and I mean, first you do your thing for a little bit. Then you're gonna feel like you're tired, and that's when you start saying, okay, thanks, blah blah blah. You be the upper person in the situation of that incident, and you see if you want to reply kindly, and they hate that.
They're looking for conflict. They're looking for you to
that's good.
rumble
That's
back.
good.
And some of the times I do, and a lot of times it's warranted. You come. I mean, they told the Stars told me, try and lay off the creativity, and take the high road. And the majority of the time I did.
You're on a run for the Stanley Cup, man. Like this isn't regular season.
No, this isn't. And I sit there and the one thing that I've always wanted is drink from the cup. And that's it. And I told the president that, told the players that. That's the only thing I care about. And it's literally tunnel vision with me in the game. I'm literally like, excuse me, I'm sitting up in the right up against the glass, just with my knees, my leaning forward, looking left, right. Anything I can do. One of the things I did is, you guys probably saw it on social media. I think it was this series. It's when I jump around and I wave my arms and stuff. So we're breaking out of the second period, right? And this never happens because the Dallas is a fast team. So they actually slow it down, and whenever they get behind the net, there's a guy in front, in front of Ottinger. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm going to distract him. And so what I do is I distract the guy, and I jump left and I jump right. And one time it actually worked to where he was able to break it ahead. I mean, this is 4 years ago. 3-4 years ago, but he broke out a pass, a cross-ice pass, because the guy looked right at me. And cross-ice pass ended up scoring in that. But, I mean, a lot of times it's to distract him. The 2 seconds.
Hey, that's what they call, well, it's not football, so it's not the 12th man, or Canada the 13th man. So what do they call this on the ice? The 7th?
Yeah, but I think the Predators have like the 7th man, or the Blue Jackets do. And so, I actually tried to like the very beginning, I just come up with more inspirational things when we're trying to make the playoffs. Like I created a 7th man sign, all sorts of other signs, but then I got shit for the 7th man because I think it was at Nashville or Columbus. So I was like, all right, mark that off. So yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you guys go, please.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, well, you've been a trooper through all this, both online and in person, because what I see is just fandom and excitement and passion. And it doesn't matter what form it comes of, because you're not the first guy, and you're not going to be the last guy or girl or whoever the fan is to bang on glass. You've really just created something of a persona for the Dallas Stars and given them another social media experience for the world to see. And I think it's added the volume that Biz has gotten involved, albeit there are some people on the dark side of the web that probably go over the line. So that's really, really not the best. But I think you've really shown that you can really show your passion for the game. And I do hope you drink out of the cup. Now, there's another call tuning in that says the tubes next to the glass banger.
Hey, you got to listen to this.
The tubes next to the glass banger are more of a distraction than the glass banger guy, LOL. So there you go.
Great. I love that. Oh my God. No, a lot of the times it's a different girl. Majority of the time it's a different girl. I try and make sure that they make me look good. And she looks good. And then the V cut is a deep V cut. Some of the times they're big, sometimes they're small, but they're always going to be better looking than me.
Hey, quickly before we do a wrap here, we're going to have to do a couple things to finish the show today. But maybe tell us the story behind the suit.
The story behind the suits. My dad owns an ad agency and based in Dallas, and it's a pretty successful agency, which is awesome.
Hey, go ahead, put a plug in for it, man.
What me to see? It's the Maroc Partners.
Okay.
He wore a white suit and a vest, creative vest and a white suit and a ponytail. I don't have a ponytail, but with a white suit, cream suit, going to games. He went to every game, years ago, and just slowly kind of stopped going to games. But he still wore the white suit, and then I just kind of picked it up. And it started as just a cream jacket, and I've got that jacket still. It is filled with smoking holes, like covered holes. But it started as just kind of a little passing of the torch kind of thing, and then he just let me take girls to games. I managed to get to, I think it was 2 years ago, 27 girls in one season.
That's pretty incredible. Well, I like I said, I dig the look. I think you've got it all made. I think for years to come, when there's a history book written on the Dallas Stars, there's definitely going to be a chapter on you, and it's going to be a highlight chapter.
I got a question. Okay,
go ahead.
Think for 2 seconds. When was the last time a fan of any sport got as much time publicly as I have? Have you ever thought about anybody anywhere national? I mean, the national attention. Have you even thought of that?
Yeah, the only one we have, and of course you know it because everyone got mad in Edmonton playing La Bamba, was a young boy, Ben Stetler, who had cancer, and the team but that was a super fan that was young and had a cause. But as far as a super fan like yourself that's out there, I know. And it just came out of nowhere because one guy wanted to make you popular, man.
Yeah. And I guess I drive the views, which is good for them. I mean, I rival. If you've looked at their Instagram, I mean, I've got like over 500,000 views. My tweet yesterday, which I created that tweet, by the way. I wanted to see the reaction to everybody that went, and it went well beyond. I had 1 million impressions on that.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and think about specific players or like fans of organizations, and oftentimes what it comes down to is fans that are very dolled up or dressed up as like in the colors of the team that they represent, but never for this rationale. So again, this is a very unique story, and it's very cool that again you're a part of hockey history, as wild as that sounds. Yeah. So congrats on that.
I wish like hell we had enough energy to take it 7, but I think the power play was ultimately the killer, that killed the series. Yeah, especially in game 1. And then the game 4, or no, is it 4 or 5? 2 up.
Game 4, I think game 4 was the.
It was 2 up, and then just didn't score another goal.
Well, and you know what? I really we didn't get quite to finish earlier, but I felt like they were starting to run out of gas, especially on the back end. Right, all the depth was 5 deep, and then you're kind of running 4 a lot. And that really becomes tough against an offense when you got players. And you know what? As much as people like that last game, the Oilers just kept running around. That's essentially what they did, kept them to the outside perimeter. I mean, they were dominated. They could not come back and change the momentum, but long as they could keep that outside. And I think that what happened earlier is they had the breakout pass. They're on the boards, and it took them a couple games to figure that out on how to stop that. But I mean, Edmonton almost got stopped in an earlier round, though, by Vancouver, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, no, I got to be honest. So Pawel picked Dallas to come out of the West. I had the Avalanche coming out of the West. Yeah, I was shocked they took out the Avalanche like they did.
Yeah, you have to think of the story that the Stars would have. This team would have had, beating the past two cup contenders, beating McJesus and Draisaitl, and then going and leveling Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in the Florida team's been in the past 5 cups.
Yeah.
And,
Now,
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
The story of this team, which they have the ability to run it back next year, at least one more year they do. Jamie's contract comes up after that, and they might pick up Pavelski mid-season before the trade deadline. Or I think can they sign him? No, can they sign him?
Well, Pavelski's going to retire. That's
I know that. I know. I meant like pick him up, late in the season.
Yeah, like is he really gonna? If he doesn't have a retirement party, I could see him just holding off on that decision and then coming in later if he does.
Ready and coming in and
Well, they got to still. They have a 2-3 year window still to make something happen.
Oh yeah, Logan Stankoven and Wyatt Johnson are the future, and they are excellent picks. Jason Robertson, as I was going to say, I think it was game 1 in double overtime, 4-minute penalty, high sticking on McDavid. Robertson hits the post. You get that goal in. Completely different series. We're talking about Edmonton. Who knows what can happen? Now, Pavel also mentions that Ace, Windsor Spitfires mascot, would give you a run for your money, as he is a heck of a glass banger. So I think you're going to have to, unless you know who that is.
No, I don't.
Yeah, Windsor Spitfires are in the Ontario Hockey League.
NHL.
Yeah, that's where Taylor Hall came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to look him up and send him a video of a challenge, like who bangs glass harder, right?
How was I saw that the Saginaw one, the Memorial Cup.
Yes.
The last 2 seconds of the game are unbelievable, and they beat and the London Knights are the powerhouse team, right?
Yeah. London should have actually had that. Yeah, I didn't even get a chance. So if you guys didn't know the Saginaw Spirit, the host team, who got in as a host team, not as the winning championship. The host gets in, and then you have the QJHL, the OHL, and the WHL winners.
And now there's rumblings of Mark Hunter potentially going to the NHL, even though that's been his baby for the longest time, right? Him and his brother.
So cool. I love that. And were they even supposed to go?
Oh, who, the London Knights?
Yeah, the Saginaw Spirit. Were they even supposed to go?
The Savannah.
They went into the playoffs, but because of
the host team, but were they good enough to play in the cup?
Not till later in the year.
Yeah,
later in the year they really started, so they were good at the end of the season.
Yeah,
but no one thought that they would actually be in the final 2.
No.
That's amazing. Just like the soccer team.
They lost to London, and London. I mean, London is a juggernaut. They're a powerhouse, right?
I know them down here. I know the London Knights down here.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Hockey. This is why, and this is why we have you on, and many others. We have a super fan over in Arizona. He's the Tampa Bay Lightning guy, and his name's Sean Fire. He's been on the show a couple times.
You in Arizona?
Yeah, he lives in Phoenix, actually.
Scottsdale now.
Scottsdale, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Pavel's connected with him. He's been up here at Ice.
Yeah, we just saw him.
Hey, we'll extend the same invitation if we're down in Dallas or if you're up in this way, man. We can take it to a game. So, Nick, I can take it to a game, but I'm not going to get you to – I'm probably not getting behind the net. Oilers charge too much for me, man.
I saw that the tickets were like $6.90. I mean, that right there is chomping. I would chomp it. I couldn't go to Game 6 for legal reasons, which kind of sucked. That's with a lot of Americans, they can't get up here.
Yeah. And they would have charged you probably so high to actually buy this last minute. I know it was $500 for a few of my buddies on their season tickets they own up on the second level and fourth row on the blue line.
Last seats going for $695. That right there, I paid $1,200 for my seat in Colorado.
Wow.
I paid $2,200 for my 2 seats in Vegas. And I paid $1,200 for that. At $695, I would have bought 4 seats and brought 3 girls.
Pavel says goodbye, glass banger. Appreciate it. He enjoyed you having you being on the show. And Michael, who was at one of the games, said it was overall really exhilarating. He went to the Dallas Edmonton matchup and the Swift matches.
He was at Game 6. He was beside Robert Clark, the singer.
Yeah, Robert Clark, the singer, who was an incredible singer and minus 25 shot.
Pardon? The anthem singer?
Yeah, Robert Clark.
Okay, yeah. Incredible. Oh my God, he needs to sing what?
Yeah, former opera singer, great
words?
guy, local guy.
Let's go.
Well, hey Nick, we'll get you. Well, we're gonna get you on the show next. We're wrapping up our season. We'll be back in September. We run 42 episodes. Let's have you on next year, and let's just talk hockey, man. A whole bunch of
we'd
stuff
love to have you
outside of
back.
banging the glass,
Love
and
it.
then we can give a report and see how things are going in the billing world for you at the NHL on social media, man.
That should be fun. And if you guys ever make it, give me a couple of days notice, and I'll make sure to have.
Absolutely,
For
absolutely.
sure.
I'll start lining up some training jobs right away.
Love it, boy. See you
Cheers,
guys.
man. Keep sticking on the ice.
Stay safe. Have a good night. Awesome. That was wonderful. Thank you, Nick, for coming on the show and sharing your story and sharing your incredible passion, not only for the Dallas Stars, but for your passion for the game and uniquely how he's come out. And thanks for everyone who has been tuning in and sharing your thoughts, comments. We appreciate it. Remember to like, share, subscribe. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We've only got a few more episodes left. Next week, we have Kimberly Becker on the show. At the beginning of the show, she is a Colorado Avalanche a TV analyst. She's going to come and talk all things Colorado now that they are out. What's next for them? A lot of big questions, not only for Joe Sakic, but that core and what happens, right? So we're going to see what takes place. And I know Joe Sakic is now the president of hockey operations, right? But we're going to see what they decide with Nichushkin, Kale McCarr, Rantanen, as we talked about. We're looking in to see more of that. So remember, go give us a follow, like on Twitter /X at RevNev or me at hockey_2 on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. We appreciate it. We post daily. We get our stuff up there. We appreciate you. Evan, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I just didn't get a chance to cover a couple things in minor hockey. That's all good. We went a little longer with Glassbanger with Nick, and man, first of all, I do appreciate Nick coming on. You know, it's because he puts himself out there because he can get totally. I mean, this is social media too, right? You know, you're out on stuff and all our platforms and stuff, and you know, I appreciate that all of you guys were respectful coming on and listening and noticing, and it's for the fun of the game. When you get a different perspective and you don't listen to one person, maybe you'll enjoy the game more. Don't be so critical. Don't rip people. Have fun, joke. We do that with each other, but you know what? In the end, it's no different. You get in, you play some psychology in a game, and when you're done the game, you go grab a beer, you sit down, you talk, you chat, you laugh, and have fun, and have a hug, and you move on.
Respect for the other side.
Exactly. So Nick has great knowledge in the game. He's got an understanding, and he's right. I believe he can make a difference on that opposing team down in that end. So I just want to
think about fans that are impressed that make an impact on the game. I'm going to have to do a little digging this week. So you guys can let us know.
That is an interesting piece. We'll have to see if we can get that for season end. I do like to just make a mention to now I might be saying the name wrong. I believe his name is Cliff Lequenze. He's the public announcer. He was inducted in Victoria. He was inducted into the Victoria Sports Hall of Fame for how well all his years of announcing over there in Victoria. So, you know, give him a big shout out. I like to honor some of these guys that don't get the recognition worldwide. They just get it locally in that community. So Victoria is on Vancouver Island in Western British Columbia. That's on the far west as you can go to that very island. If you're looking on the map, if you're from the US or in Europe or anywhere. And I do want to say again, last week I was actually rather shocked in the last 2 weeks how many of you guys in America, we're up in Western Canada, but how many in America have been joining? And I do appreciate that a lot have been coming out of New York and New Jersey, and New Jersey, New York, or wherever you went.
Ray's getting the word out.
Yeah, Ray, man. Yeah. And as well as seeing a lot more Florida recently. So obviously you guys have been excited. I will say this. I like to next week after Kim's off, I like to tap in, and I know it's a big topic right now when it came to Kevin Bielsa talking about raw meat, and it came to Luke Gazdick talking about the Canucks stuff. I want to talk about announcers, national broadcasters, all that kind of stuff next week. So join on. We're going to have a big conversation, and I think there's going to be more story to tell next week, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We've gone overtime, so we are, as always, known as Two Guys in Overtime. But as always, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. Wherever you're tuning into, stay safe. Enjoy Game 1 and Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Let us know your predictions below. We love hearing from you, and we will be back next Wednesday again to talk all things hockey. Evan?
All right, guys. As we say every week, it's been a ring-a-ding-dong dandy, but in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice, guys. Stay safe. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tie. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
He didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.